Hello, good afternoon, everybody. How is everyone doing today? Um, Hope you can see and hear me okay. This one is taking a minute to get started. I sincerely apologize again if you were waiting online or um, any of that. Please, again, accept my apologies. I know it's almost like I do these apologies every week, but that is not my plan by any means possible. We're still navigating this whole technology shenanigans. But I'm going to get it resolved eventually. We need a bigger production crew. With that said, you're here for value, so let's jump right in. This week's topic is an exciting one. It's from junior database administrator to six figures, mapping your first 3 to 5 years, right? So this is assuming you've navigated the process, you've gone through the process of getting in, right? You've started, last week I was talking about getting started, landing your first job, all of that. And, if you've been following all of this journey, if you've been following this Workforce Ready sessions, I've spoken a lot about just navigating the process of landing a job as a database administrator. If you don't have that information, if you're still at a place where you're not sure what to do, I did a free course. I did a free course that just shows like step by step how to get started as a DBA. It should be in the description somewhere, or just go on nstartechnologies.com or DM us on Instagram and ask for my free database admin workshop, and I'll send that to you. It'll take you like 25 minutes to get through. It gives you the groundwork to get started. At least you have that context. Now that you're in, all right, let's talk about it. Now that you're in, you started, maybe you're that junior DBA or mid-level database administrator, and you're targeting that big money. You're targeting the six figure. Well, that's the gist. Again, welcome to Workforce Ready. I don't know if I said that at the beginning with NSTAR. It's our weekly career series where we just share tips on how to navigate tech. I talk a lot about database administration, but eventually we talk all things tech. And so we are going to explore all of that in a bit as we continue on this journey. So how do I go from the lower tier database and entry level? I prefer to say entry level than junior DBA, right? Because entry level is just your starting point. For some, they start at a higher tier of salary, but for some, you're likely going to begin, maybe under 170. 55 to 70, 55 to 80 is not abnormal to start at in terms of, salary. All right. So I will say this, and I say this to my students, and I say this, every promotion I've done for our programs. A career in database administration is not a get rich quick scheme, right? It is not a get rich quick conversation that I'm trying to have with you. Okay, if you're looking for, there is so many coaches online who are selling the get into my program. Let me show you how I made $2 million in 2 days or in 2 weeks. Good luck to you. I'm pretty sure there are people who do that. And maybe if you're trying to get into a new career, maybe you don't have the initial, you don't have the starting point to look to make to do make that. But I'm pretty sure they're not starting with they're not starting at the I don't have 100K level. And so that's not what I'm trying to sell you. I'm not trying to say get into the program and then make $1 million. No, it's get a decent job that will pay you well, right? That's my goal. So it's not a get rich quick conversation. It is just a real roadmap that is built on strategy, right? Skills, consistency. So let me know in the chat or if you're feeling what I'm saying. Okay, so your database career is, getting into database administration is it's a strategic career entry point, especially for those looking to get into tech. One, because of the data space and how it's booming. You can't really go wrong in a career in data, especially if you're in tech. We are more and more data driven. I will highly like the tech itself is shifting and adjusting and changing fast with AI and all of that. But there are certain things that are core that will not change, right? Networking, you will always need networks. It's always going to be there. Infrastructure, you will always need that. right? So it's not, there are certain things that will not go away when it comes to careers. And I've said this a lot of times. I hope it helps somebody who's trying to make a decision on picking a career path, right? It is something like you're going to always need infrastructure is not going away. So whether it's cloud, whether it's physical servers, all of our tech has to have a home. It has to live somewhere. Okay, so infrastructure is always going to be, required. Again, when I talk infrastructure on-prem or cloud, that's it, that's the context I'm talking about infrastructure from. Networks will not go away. So concepts around networking, and you see a lot of this will not trend in terms of popularity of the programs. You won't see too many people flogging become a network administrator. I can't remember seeing one ad on becoming a network engineer. But those guys are always employed because you always need them, right? So without networks, I mean, internet is a whole big network and everything else, right? So networking, core programming is not going to go away, right? So all of this, programming has been, there's a lot of coding, vibe coding, no code coding, right? You're building apps without code and all of that. But the architecture behind all of that, right? The models that drive all of that, people are building that on there. Okay. And so those guys will always have work. And then behind the AI revolution, behind all of the advancements in tech is data. All right, so data is going to always be a space where you have opportunity, right? It's always going to be one of those spaces where there'll always be, opportunity, where you'll always have work. So I wanted to highlight those. So as a strategic entry point, a career in data is a great place to start. A database administration career is a great place to start. One, it's solid pay from day one. Okay, more than like, I've talked about this, the rates that my students get started at for the most part, and I'm not going to overflog that again. But yes, you can start six figures right out of the gate. And if it's not what you start at, it's something you can definitely build to. And that's what I want to talk about, how you can do that. There's always going to be a demand, right? It's not one of those situations where are people looking for my skills or not? Is this something that is required? Is this something that people, there's no saturation. I mean, I won't say there's no saturation, but there's never going to be a time when we run out of data is no longer a trend and there are no more data jobs. No, there will always be opportunities in the data space, right? So there's always demand for database people, database engineers, data architects, database administrators, data analysts, reporting services, people that do reporting, so the Tableaus, Power BI guys, all of those people that do reporting, SSRS. There's always opportunities in those realms. Data administrators managing data, business critical data. That's what we do. Database engineers. So these are spaces that if you're looking to get into tech, you should definitely be looking to explore. There's always abundance of opportunities to pivot, right, into higher paying roles. If you start in data, you can go anywhere. One of the benefits of database administration that I love so much and I've talked about is the scale of collaboration that we have to do. We get to work with, we get to become fluent in different aspects of the tech, or the, tech infrastructure within the organizations that we work for and we support, right? So as a database administrator, you're working with the developers, right? To navigate their stored procedures, their scripts, working with them, troubleshooting, optimizing performance. You're working with the application owners. Okay, so there's that piece of it. You're navigating those, you're working with them to in that context, right? You're working with the infrastructure folks because you're working with them to, architect and design the server infrastructure, storage. You're working with storage guys. You're working with those, and again, that's another realm in the infrastructure career. Storage people. Again, I haven't seen too many people promoting become a storage engineer, but I tell you that is so critical for us in tech, right? So as a DBA, you're working with the guys in storage. You're working with the guys the server guys. You're working with the network engineers when it comes to projects because you want them to build out You want them to set up your database servers, your virtual machines in a particular format. You have you have certain specifications that you need for your database servers to perform optimally. So we work in close cahoots with these guys, right? You work with application people, and so it gives you that fluency. If you're somebody who has that development, who's inclined on the development side, you can, there's different opportunities in terms of you can go maybe lean into automation and PowerShell and scripting, get more, work more on the development and all of that side. If you're somebody who leads infrastructure, there's a cloud architecture, cloud computing opportunities for you. So you can pivot. You can move around, and that's great because of your interactions with these different places. If you want to go into leadership and management, there's opportunities there as well because we are so immersed in everything we do has a direct impact on revenue on the business. And I always urge my students to don't just be a technical DBA. Make sure you are understanding how things are configured, how they are set up. It's super important, right? You understand the business part. If you're a DBA who understands the importance and how the impact of the databases you support and how it relates to the business, right? Critical applications that are leaning, that are feeding you the data that's you're managing or supporting your database. You have this bigger oversight, and then you learn skills around, leading meetings and facilitating sessions. We work on bigger projects where you become, adjunct project manager and things like that. And so it exposes you to certain level of collaboration and teamwork and leadership, that if you're somebody who wants to transition into more of the on the leadership side, on the managerial side, this role equips you for that as well. So I've spent so much time on this, but there's opportunities to pivot, to specialize, to other higher paying roles. And again, we talk about tangible impact on data systems and performance, why it's a strategic entry career point. And your growth is not capped, right? If you are intentional with your career, your growth opportunities are not capped. So it's an excellent career path. I'll keep preaching this gospel as long as I can. So I broke this down into, your 3 to 5 year roadmap. All right, so you stay with me, and I'm going to go through this very quickly because I've started this really late. So the first year when you land your first job, the beginning of it is getting grounded. So whether you are working already or you are in this process, right? It's about getting grounded. It's about learn and get your first job. That is your goal, right? Focus on learning. Immerse yourself in learning. Take a course, take a program, sign up for a program, right? Come and let's talk about how we can impart you with the knowledge. And then your goal here is get your first job. Land that first opportunity. It's not necessarily about what they're paying you. And again, you will not be paid 40K, you will not be paid 50K. More than likely, you're making upwards of this is going to start 80K and up, right? So it is not a bad place to start. 70, 80K, if you with the economy today, it's a standard starting point. All right. So one of my students from earlier in the year got a job and got a job and started at 80K. So that's what the market is. People start at 100, 105. But I'm seeing that will I call it market correction or regression to the 80s and 90s now. All right. So start from there. Get in. Once you get your first job, the next thing, once you get your first paycheck, if you're a person of faith like myself, you do your first fruits, give God as a thank you. Next thing you do, your next paycheck, set up a lab for yourself, right? Set up a lab for yourself, build your home lab, set up your virtual machines, build out your own infrastructure, like invest in your own powerful, server, right? You don't have to buy a server computer. You can get a laptop and put it on steroids, right? Get a solid Lenovo or some, Lenovo's and Dell's tend to be aggressively rugged. I'm not talking about the fancy, sleek one built for, no, I'm talking about the rugged, Latitude. Get something rugged, something solid with high performance, up the RAM to 32 gig at least, right? Up the RAM, make sure you're doing an i7, i9, get a 32 gig memory, so that you can build out, you can set up at least like a three VM infrastructure, right? A three server virtual machine, get your VMware, buy your license, set up three to four, and that way you can configure your own labs, where you have your own cluster, you can build out your always on configuration, you can set up like a standard network environment for yourself. So build out your own lab. That's and then document everything that you're doing. So as you navigate, as you're practicing, as you're running into issues at work, and you're document the things you're learning, the issues you're running into. That documentation becomes the stories you tell as you have conversations. All right, and I'm telling you, these are insider secrets that I'm spilling right now. Every interview you go for, it's about the stories you can tell. The jobs you get and the ones you don't get are a product of how well you are able to explain your experience and stories. Stories of your things you've done. It's like stories of war. How can I convince you to hire me? I'll tell you the things that I've done, right? I'll tell you the things that I've accomplished, the things that I've knocked out in my time doing this. So that is the goal. That is when you're documenting everything, it's okay. I ran into this issue, and you figure out the solution to that. Document the steps you took, so that somebody's going to ask you, "Have you experienced so and so and so before?" Like, yes, while I was working, I ran into this issue, and this is what I did. This is how I resolved it. Bam. Right. That's the game. That's the game. The game is the game. That's your lab. That's your story. Try things out. When you build your audits, see, what I used to do then was, if I see something within the realm of our work, I will go try it out at home. Right. What that did for me is I didn't have to when I was doing that work, I had done it before. So by the time it got to my turn, I already done my experimenting. Does that make sense? I already done my experiment. I'll go experiment at home, figure it out at home, so that I am not, even if it's in a test environment in the office, I am treating it like I've done this before. It's no longer new again, right? It won't be my first time doing it. Like on the job, it's not my first time doing anything. That's why you build that home lab. Be curious, practice. You run into something, somebody mentions something on YouTube, go try it out. Try simulate different things. Break things, break stuff, and fix it. That's the way we learn. That's the way we get better. Be curious, document. All right. Then between your second and third year, the goal here is to deliver and deepen your experience. So take ownership of production systems, write scripts, improve performance, right? Raise your hand for those difficult things at work, right? Get more, dive more into production, figure things out. Try to implement solutions, or be part of making things better when it comes to processes. Investigate, common issues, and figure out ways to make it better. That's again, you're trying to, again, we're all trying to talk about how to position yourself strategically to get to that next level where you're getting paid in six figures, right? Then you can start gaining exposure to other platforms like cloud platforms, AWS, Azure, PostgreSQL. Expand. This is something I'm seeing is, as we advance in the roles that we have, as we advance in as database administrators, like I said, we get to explore different realms. Add to your toolbox, add to your skill set, expand your resume. Yes, you are a core SQL Server DBA, but what else can you do? Right? You know that, okay, there's you have some applications. Maybe you have one small application that the vendor says, hey, it has to be on the cloud. That's an opportunity to you for you to go learn AWS, right? Or learn Azure and get certified, do whatever you need to do. But build a little bit of competence in other areas. That adds to your resume, but that's also a leverage point for negotiation when you're trying to get to the next level, when you're trying to go higher. So gain more exposure to other platforms, learn things like PowerShell, Python, all those scripting tools. I do not like those scripting tools, but they elevate you when it comes to you being a database engineer, right? It's automation. We want engineering means automation is a key part. All right. So PowerShell for somebody, if you're in the Microsoft realm, then go learn PowerShell. A lot of people do much with Python. I haven't played that much in that Python space. I'm familiar with some of the jazz with with Python and all of that, but PowerShell, I can say I've seen it in I've seen it do its thing. You can do things with everything with PowerShell. All right, so go learn PowerShell. Get comfortable with that. Again, this is your route to the next level. And then start mentoring others, right? See people trying to come up. You don't have to do it at the commercial level, like myself, but you can even within your organization it could just be lunch and learns and demonstrate something you're learning, right? Somebody trying to come up like, hey, let me show you a thing or two, right? The more you teach, the better you become. That's just one thing. So if it's do that, right? So the expectation here in terms of salary, now you're getting too closer to the, you should be targeting that 90K, 95. That again, that would be the norm, right? So you can uh, um this if you're able to absorb all of this, then you're already equipping yourself for other roles in like DevOps engineer roles and cloud DBA, SQL analyst. Those roles are now available to you. Look, without you even doing like you expand the opportunities you can apply for. Okay, so that's your second to your third year. Now in your fourth to fifth year, you begin to expand, specialize, and lead, right? Become a go-to person for performance tuning. Like, hey, performance tuning. This is for the bad guys. This is where we separate ourselves. If we can go in and read the execution plan and look at the graph and say, hey, this is where the bottleneck is, and these are the things. I'll rewrite this portion of the code, and this is going to improve performance by 75%. That's where you get into that bad guy level. That is where that's where you're gaining visibility, right? So become that guy. Become that guy when it comes to performance tuning. Become that guy when it comes to high availability, disaster recovery, always on. If you don't understand anything I'm saying, then you need to enroll in class. You need to be asking me about how classes work so that we teach you all of those things, right? Immerse yourself in these things. Automation, that partial I was talking about. This is where you start doing it, right? Get immerse yourself in some of these things. Yeah, don't be afraid at this point to start exploring those senior DBA roles and lead roles, right? This because that's where the big money is. It's in the senior level. That's where you can, hey, 120, 130, where you can say that with your full chest. But you should be able to do all of that. You should have a level of mastery around performance tuning. You should be able to go and talk through how it works, resolving slow running queries step by step, how you'd go about it, and then if different things you need to talk about like deadlocks and blockings. You need to talk about latches and all of that concept, extended events, and how to manage all of that. Like you should be able to fluently talk about this. So this is at your year five. You should have built your competence to this level, right? You should be able to talk about always on, and not just explaining the concepts of it at a high level, but be able to talk about how it works, synchronous versus asynchronous, right? Automatic failover versus manual failover, which settings support that, all of that good stuff. So you get this thing. It's like you become this guy by doing this over a period of time. So build your expertise to this level and then begin to go for it. Go for it, right? Go for the bigger, go to the place where that who pays you this. Now, you get to a stage in your career. This is my 13th year. October 2012, I started doing database administration. I've been in tech since 2003. Well, I got into college for computer engineering in 2003, but I got my first internship. I did my IT 2005. Am I correct? So 2005, 2025, 20 years in tech. It's been a minute. So I started server engineer, so I started with system administrator, doing some of the system administrator slash server supports, and then moved over to networking, cable crimping, all of the handy hardware, dirty work things. I've worked my way up and then learned a lot programming Java, website, HTML, all those things I've done. And then finally made into the database space in 2012. When I first started, I got my first DBA job, and I've done that. So you get to a point in your life where maybe it's not about the big money and you just want certain things. But if your goal is So I've gotten to that place where I'm not necessarily swinging for the highest paid role. For me, it's more about certain things, right? I have three beautiful daughters, I have a family, and then it's so all of that becomes factors I have to consider when I'm taking a job and when I'm exploring an opportunity. And those are things you should consider as well. I'm not saying you should change yourself and not get paid what you're worth because you want to have a schedule that is comfortable for you. I'm saying it's for some people, maybe what if I don't want that because of this thing? So I'm trying to explain that from my perspective as well. So that is totally okay if that's something you want to explore. All right. But this at this level though, you should be okay going for it, is where I'm going. You should be okay swinging for the fences. You should be okay go for that senior DBA role, those data architect roles, that cloud platform engineers, those senior release engineers, SREs. Go for those things, right? So that's those are this at this place you built. You're on solid ground when it comes to your skills. You're on solid ground, so I'll say go for it. Don't be afraid. Go for that. Go for the money. All right. What are some moves you can make to accelerate your growth? Get certified, right? Getting started. Don't waste your time on certification if you've not landed your first job. When you're trying to land your first job, certifications don't really do you any good. You need proficiency. I'm not saying don't get certified, but don't let that distract you from spending time in the lab and practicing, right? It is super important that we do that. The focus at the point where you're trying to get a job is not to get certified. It is to build proficiency. It's to explore as many scenarios as possible. It's to break SQL Server, break Oracle in as many ways as possible and fix it. That is your goal because you want to speak the language fluently. Like the first step is you want to speak it fluently so that when you go and have a conversation, you feel comfortable, right? That's your first objective. That's your first priority. So that's it's not static. But now that you're trying to go for in career advancement, that is where you play certification, right? That is where you play certifications because these sets are always evolving. So it's a way to show like, hey, I am at this level now and I have the paper to prove it, right? I've evolved my skills and I've added this, right? There are certain things, the certification that I'm pursuing right now, because it's something I want to show or demonstrate proficiency in, right? So I might, but I'm at a place where I already have work. I'm already, in my place of employment and doing what I do. Right. So now if I want to show that, hey, I want to go be able to go out, so this is a requirement, and I'm going to show you that I can do it by the paper that I have. So get certified, Azure, AWS, Cloud, SQL Server has its own series of certifications. Get certified. Start building your portfolio intentionally on GitHub especially if you're writing scripts and doing this, different things. I will even add here, this is where you start contributing to the community, right? Get involved in forums and give back. These are some moves because when you're active and engaged in public forums, you don't know who is going to be a recipient of your knowledge and your wisdom and your solutions. So don't be afraid to share your opinions in forums. If you see situations people are dealing with, go solve those things for them. Give original thoughts, share original thoughts. Maybe on your research, if you have concepts that you're exploring and you have feel a certain way, give your original thoughts. Post them on LinkedIn as LinkedIn articles. Again, post them in forums where people are having, where the community, the SQL Server community, the database community are having conversations because you don't know who is in there. You don't know who is in there and who might be interested in your point of view, and that can lead to an opportunity. Volunteer for high impact internal projects, right? Don't run away from the big, quote unquote, difficult projects at work. If you're trying to grow, my wife has this thing she calls the raise hand framework, and it's about saying, hey, put me in, coach. I'm ready to play. Does it put me shine a light on me in ways that might be dangerous? Yes, but also think about it. If you don't put yourself out there, nobody will know what you're able to do, right? So go for those. If they let you go for those projects that are high risk, quote unquote, those that have the high visibility, that have major impact to company moving forward, raise your hands for those kind of things, right? Again, I highly encourage everybody, like, for once, raise your hand and let the chips fall where they may, right? Stop thinking about what could go wrong and think about what if it goes well. If you do well in those moments, you are you're leaving an impression in the hearts of leadership, right? That hey, this person is ready for the next level. So sign up for those high impact, high leverage, high visibility internal projects. Invest in your communication skills. This is so powerful. I'm telling you, a lot of technical people are sound, but they can't communicate that value, and you miss out on opportunities. You miss out on interviews. You're not able to convey your expertise clearly during conversations, during interviews, and so you are shortchanged, right? You're good, but you can't let people know how good you are because you can't break down technical concepts into simple language, right? Some people can't talk about database administration the way I am right now and explore all of the options, right? You have to work on your communication skills. Soft skills are as important as the hard skills, or the soft skills are hard are hard money. It is so important. The decision makers might not understand SQL. They might not understand all of the jargons that we talk about. They don't understand some of the technical things, blocking deadlocks, da 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 da, right? But you can break down those concepts in simple terms. So work on your communication skills, work on your like presentation, leading meetings. Those are senior DBA things. Those are senior engineer things. Those are data architect things. Those are like soft. You're in the conversation. Can you present? Like expand your conversation beyond your technical base. I would say even go learn, skills around project management and agile. You should understand basic things like sprints and backlogs. And so because the person interviewing you might be an agile delivery lead or something like that who is leading a project. They understand, and they are speaking their language. You should be able to come to where they are. That's what makes you a senior. You're not pigeonholed into just inserts and updates, and joins and all of that. All right. And again, I love those things. I'm just saying that shouldn't be all you're good at. All right. So these are some things you can do to elevate yourself. I've seen this so many times with, I've had students who have gone. I had a student who went through like from the jump. He was eager to go for it, and he started first job, got his first job. Was excited, but he just kept on learning. Next time I was having a conversation with him, like he was talking about some crazy things, SSIS and analysis. It was analysis services and da 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 da. Next he was up, and then he was up, and then next week I'm doing a second. Like it's crazy. But that's how you elevate is continuing to learn, upping your skills. Once you get your first job, that is the foundation, and then the same aggressive approach you took to learn, like that same approach, you have to continue that. It can't be one and done. It has to be something that you do constantly. That's something that you have to keep that same energy until you get to where you're looking to go. The same effort that got you in the door is what will elevate you as well. So you have to continue. But as I wrap this up, it is possible to go from zero to six figures as a database administrators. If you treat it like a marathon with a plan, with a clear path. All right. So get your like figure it out. Again, if you want to get started, I would say go and start with my, introduction to database administration course. Get a deep dive into exactly what it is database administrators do, right? That's step one. Then book a call with my team, right? Let's talk about if this is something you want to do, how we can help you get started, right? That is it. And then come back again next week and let's keep talking. Right, keep showing up for this weekly, and please bear with me with my technical challenges. I am going to personally take ownership of trying to solve all of these technical issues myself, so that I'm not at the mercy of things not being set up properly. We'll do proper testing and all of that. But again, go sign up for sign up for the course, the free workshop. It's 25 minutes. It just go takes a deep dive into the world of database administration. I have presentation and slides and all that good stuff. It will break it down for you so you know exactly what this gig is about. And if you're still excited about it, you should be because you spent all this time you're at this point in the video. Then let's talk about how we can help you get started. All right, that's my time. Thank you again for being here with me. I do appreciate your time and your patience. And I want to say enjoy the rest of your weekend. God bless you. And I'll see you next week on Workforce Ready with NSTAR. Till then, stay safe, my friends.